to the show. So let's have fun.
Dear God in heaven, please let this show go okay, with no major boobs or goofs, or is it goofs? Please don't let me tread all over the intros of records, or say a naughty word.
Now, for those of you watching in black and white, this one is in Technicolor.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We'd like to say that, in our opinion, it is not suitable for children or for those of you who may have a nervous disposition.
Good people, it is my pleasure to present to you the one and only...
Well, what can I say? There's a Christmas elf on a shelf in my system, and it's knackered it all up. Anyway, we've killed the elf on the shelf. We decapitated it. No, if the children are listening now, of course we didn't. It was Andy that done it. It's good when you got a guest in the studio, because you can blame them. No, I'm only joking. Okay, we've got it all sorted out. We had a few technical glitches at the beginning there. It sounded awful. Of course, me talking probably hasn't made it any better, but there we are. Anyway, we're finally here for the last one of the week. Well, you think that. I might have a surprise up my sleeve later. Anyway, last cookie show for this week, but we might have a special for you on Saturday. That's all I'm saying on the matter at the moment. Anyway, tonight's show is brought to you by the number 4 and the letter A. Oh no, that was Sesame Street earlier. Anyway, we have got John Knight on this evening, around 7 o'clock this evening, once we phone him. And we're going to talk about books. Not just any books, though, you know. About his books, actually. And he's requested some music as well, and a fine choice, I may say so myself. So we're going to hear a couple of his songs as well. And we'll find out what makes him really tick. And make him really right as well. And let's hope this time we do have John Knight at the other end of this telephone call.
I'm back on the line now.
There he is. Good evening. It's John Knight. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
No idea. Modern technology, John. That's what it is. Anyway, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm okay. Bit of a busy day at the moment.
Yep.
I'm just turning the sound off on the laptop so I don't get any feedback or anything like that.
No
good. Just running around. Had to do a lot of advertising as well, create new adverts, because that keeps me busy as well. You know,
Excellent.
Being self-published, I don't have the backing of any publishers. I've got to do everything myself.
Indeed,
so it's not
indeed.
easy.
Well, let's give you a nice introduction then, and then we'll get on with, obviously, the task in hand. So, John Knight was born in Halifax, West Yorkshire, in the 19-somethings. I'm not going to give everyone away. But now retired and living in Cheshire. He divides his time between the UK and Spain. You can probably guess where I'm reading this from, John. A mod from the age of 16, and believes that once you're a mod, you're always a mod. Now, there's a Facebook group just for you for that one. He is working on a series of novels set in the 60s, following on from the Jimmy Mack, with others that will have parallel interweaving storylines. Now, the mind is boggling already, John. I love these sort of books because you can just run away with your imagination. Is that right?
Yes. What I tend to do is to write books that are grounded in real places and real time. So that, for example, when I'm writing about, when I started writing the original Jimmy Mack, I was setting it to the actual days of the year, and the months.
Yeah.
And I've done the same with the second one, and I'm doing the same with the third one that's following on now.
Wow. Now, I've noticed, just very, very briefly, we've got a sort of a red and blue covers at the moment. So the third one, is it going to be a white cover by any chance?
No. It's a kind of.
I've given you an idea now.
It's a kind of ready gold, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I've already sort of got it designed.
Brilliant. Now, that's quite funny, actually, because if you've got the story already in hand, or is that sort of an ongoing sort of process at the moment for your third book?
It's an ongoing process.
So you've got the cover ready, so that's good. So you're working inwards then.
I'm working towards an end, yes, eventually.
Excellent, brilliant. Now, I'm going to ask you a quick question.
Get some time.
Indeed. I'm going to ask you a quick question now about how to write a novel. Obviously, you have a story in mind, which obviously has a beginning, middle, and an end, which hopefully most would-be authors know that factual part, because obviously you can't have a story without a beginning, middle, or end. But for me, is starting a story, how does one start? You know, is it just a simple idea, or is it more complex than that, John?
It's a bit difficult for me to tell you, really, because the book I originally started, the Jimmy Mack book, the first one, Some Kind of Wonderful, that in total took 7 years to write.
Wow.
The second one took about 9 months. What happened with the first novel, if I've got a bit of time here, is essentially what I did. I got an idea based on what happened to me. I mean, the opening chapter is really very closely tied to what happened to me, about walking down a particular street, going to the big Co-op soup store back in the 60s, and seeing all these mods come past on the scooters. So that bit is drawn from something that took place, and also the incident in the Co-op took place, but that's where the story then diverts to things which, if you like, are fictitious, because I'm nothing like Jimmy Mack. Well, in many respects, I'm not. In some respects, yes, I am, but we won't go into that. I'll let the reader find out which is which.
Oh, yeah. Don't want to give too much of the way of the story either.
Yeah. I'm not going to give anything away.
That's right. Well, no. You sell the story. Sell it.
Well, what can I say? It took me a long time to work out what I wanted to do, and I did use things that happened in real life, but change things a little bit, and change the locations a little bit. It does parallel many things that happened to me. So when I'm writing about places in Bradford, when I'm writing about places in Halifax, I'm writing from sort of intimate knowledge. In the new book, I mentioned the Twisted Wheel in Manchester during the 60s.
Yeah, we've heard of that, yeah.
That's intimate knowledge because I was there at the time. I went there, I saw a lot of the acts there. So anything that I mentioned from the time is related to something that happened. Now, in the third novel, this won't be the case because many of the places that do get mentioned, for example, in London, I may have passed through them, but I never actually went to them.
Yeah.
So that then becomes fiction, if you like, good and proper.
Okay.
But everything's researched very, very carefully. I'm very careful about all the research I do.
Brilliant. So, if I was to, if there's any novelists out there, or trainee novelists, or people that want to write a book, what's the best bit of advice that you could give to a young upstarter? Someone that wants to start into the world of printing. Making a book, basically. Writing a book. What bit of information would you give them first?
Where do I start with that one?
I like to give you the good questions.
Put it this way, I couldn't really tell you that because to my own life, I wrote a play when I was a student, which got put on for a couple of nights, and I did that at sort of the age 20, 21. And then excellent. I wanted to write, but I had no ideas. I had no clues. I had a job which was very demanding, so that really scuppered a lot of the creative thinking. Then I got married, then I had children, and then I got involved in a little bit of writing, which was to write an academic work, a church history for a local Quaker meeting house. And then I did nothing again for years. I think if you want to write, one of the things you need is inspiration, and one of the problems with inspiration is you've got to have something to inspire you. And the only thing that ever inspired me was soul music. Because I'm a big fan of soul music and jazz, so that was the key really to get me going.
Okay, fantastic.
And obviously, I had a lot of writing experience from doing things like sports reports for the local newspaper, because I used to report on triathlons and the running club I belonged to and so on. So I got a lot of practice doing that kind of writing. But it's nothing like fiction writing. Fiction writing's a completely different ball game.
Okie dokie. So, I mean, obviously, from my own personal experience, I mean, there's so many different ways and different forms of writing as well. So that's probably why I like to ask the tricky little questions. Now, I'm going to pass you over to someone who you've actually met once before. This is Andy Top Walker, and he's going to say, he's going to obviously say good evening, but more importantly, he's got a couple of good questions himself. So I'm going to hand over to Andy now.
Good evening, John.
Okay, thanks.
Good evening, John. How are you doing?
Hi, Andy.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm okay at the moment.
Don't you
just
worry.
not used to being interviewed.
Don't you worry about it. It's going to be fine. I do have a couple of questions for you. Some of the questions I did have, you've actually answered before I've even got on the mic, so I'll have to skip a couple of those. But what do you like to do when you're not writing?
Wow, that's a biggie. I'm a big music fan. Obviously, one of the big things that's influenced me with this set of books has been soul music, the early soul music from the 60s.
Yeah.
But, and I put a big but in here, I am a soul fan. So I actually listen to modern soul, to contemporary soul, the soul that's being produced this year.
Uh-huh.
I don't just listen to old stuff, although people might get that impression. I love the old music. I like to go to the Twisted Wheel in Manchester, for example, and have an ease up to the old sounds. I also like to go to the local Northern Soul duels and have an ease up there, because I love dancing. Music plays a very important part in my life.
Indeed,
and soul music is at the core. But the music that I also like includes things like jazz from the 50s and 60s, like John Coltrane, Ramsey Lewis Trio, groups like, Dave Brubeck, incarnations of different ones, also Miles Davis, people like this. So I do listen to jazz.
Because obviously,
I also will listen to almost anything. I'll even listen to Led Zeppelin from time to time. I'll listen to Santana, I'll listen to all sorts.
Uh-huh.
But the key element of my life is obviously soul music and jazz.
Because obviously that was the first time that Nicky and I actually met you, was up there in Manchester, wasn't it? On your book signing.
It was, yes. At the what used to be the Hideaway Club, I believe, at one point.
Absolutely, and we were up there with Curly and Kendra for the weekend.
That's right, yeah. I did see them. They were, in good spirits.
Absolutely. And I have another question for you there. What was one of the most surprising things you've learned in creating your books?
The fact,
sorry,
the
have
fact
I got you
that
there?
it can be done, I think, is the main thing. You can surprise yourself by what you do if you put your mind to it. This is the important thing, I think, the important lesson. Just recently I've been asked by somebody else, how do I go about publishing my book? And I said, well, these days your chances of getting it published by a publisher are pretty remote. You have very little chance with them. You have very little chance with, on the whole, with the agents. Most of them aren't interested in anything that you write unless it's ticking their money boxes. And sometimes you just got to write something that you want to write, irrespective of what the market may demand.
Uh-huh.
But I think I've got some stories there that it doesn't really matter where you're from, what period of time you're from, but you're dealing with universal issues in my books, things that people can relate to, how you feel about all sorts of matters, whether it's sex amongst the young, whether it's drugs, whether it's violence, whether it's growing up and deciding what you're going to do with your life. And I think that for me is the key, because in a sense the 60s determined who I was, and this is why I've decided to write about things happening in the 60s and make that a speciality, if you like.
Uh-huh. That's superb. May I say, you are a superb interviewee, because I don't need to ask any questions because you're answering them before I ask the question. But anyway, to move on from that, as a child, what did you want to do when you grew up?
I wanted to be an astronaut.
An astronaut.
More than anything, I wanted to be an astronaut.
Superb. You wanted to be the
I
second
saw
man
Yuri
to walk on.
Gagarin and then Alan Shepard going up there in the sky.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I want to do that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to be. Yeah, it never came close. I was useless at sciences.
You have to be a certain height as well, I think, as well.
Well, I think a lot of kids at that time they probably wanted to do the same. I can imagine it.
Absolutely. Oh, sorry, it's Cookie back here again now as well. And Andy, we've got probably another question before we go today from yourself as well, haven't we?
We have, yes, indeed.
Yeah, indeed. He's got all his questions on his phone, John, so it's brilliant. So my question to you now is, how do we find your books? Obviously, we can see them on Facebook and stuff. We were talking about publishers. Are they in bookstores, or is it a sort of a physical bookstore, or is it more online these days?
It's unlikely that you're going to find my books physically in a shop.
Okay.
Which doesn't mean you can't go and order them from a shop, because they are in distribution.
Excellent.
And what that means is that the bookshop will get them for you if you order through a bookshop.
Brilliant.
But the quickest way to get them is to go online to either Amazon UK, or in fact Amazon anywhere in the world, and order from there. Now, Amazon, they sell them, but also there are other book distributors who work on Amazon, and they distribute the books as well. The trick there is to get the ones who are going to do the lowest P&P, if you like, the postage and packing, because that's what tends to bump up the price.
Oh, yes,
now,
indeed.
The books are what we call print on demand, which means that the stockists, if you like Amazon or Feeder Read, which is the publishing arm that I go through, what they do is when they receive an order, they will get a copy of the book, or however many books are being bought at the time, printed up, and then send them out. So there's never a pile of books available, there's never a stock, but they're very quick. And what they can do is they can actually get the books out to Amazon, to their own distributors as quickly as possible.
Now, that's fantastic.
Any company that, for example, if you went into a Waterstone and you said, can you order me this book? As long as you've got the ISBN number, which is on the adverts that I put up, you can get the book found quite quickly and ordered that way.
And the ISBN number is 978-1-78876-043-0. There we are.
Yeah, it is. But quicker to look it up online. Just visit me at John Knight at Jimmy Mack, and you'll probably be able to find the ISBN numbers there quickly.
Of course. Now, I've just, as you was just explaining that, I just literally went onto Amazon. I put in Jimmy Mack, and I was about to write John Knight, and it came up, and I found both your books there. Now, surprisingly, I was going to ask you this question about digital, but I don't need to because it's there. You do have Kindle editions of these books as well.
Yes, there are Kindle editions there in both books. Yeah.
Brilliant. Now, you're going to love this, and everyone else that's listening as well. To get a Kindle one here, can I mention the price?
You can, of course. You can mention any of the prices.
The Kindle price at the moment is only £2.99 for a download. What's that all about, John? That's too cheap, isn't it?
Well, it is. I mean, it's the thing is, it's digital, so you've got to have one of the Amazon Reader books, the e-book to read.
Of course, yeah.
I don't think you can get it on the other ones that are made like Kobo and the others. It's just available. There for people with Kindles.
Yeah. But for me, I'll be honest with you.
Obviously, you don't have any printing costs. You don't have any postage costs as such. It's a download, so.
Of course.
Although they say they've got copyright protection on it, I'm not so sure about that. But yeah, if you want to download it digitally, it's there digitally. Yeah.
Perfect. Now, for me though, personally, I prefer having something in my hand, like a book or something. You can put it, pick it up, you can put it down, and you haven't got to worry about technology. All you got to worry about is obviously a good light to read one's words. For me, so the books are going to be ordered before we go home tonight. That's a definite. I'm going to be ordering both books because obviously I haven't got either book at the moment. But I do like a good book. Okay, so that is absolutely paramount for me. Whether I get me in touch in time for Christmas, I'm not too sure. But we are on Amazon Prime ourselves at home here, so they say usually dispatch between 1 and 3 months. It says here for the.
Oh, it's wrong, is that? I don't know what they were playing at. I got that sign this afternoon, and I was just doing a check. And in fact, by the time I went back to the page, it was they had some in stock of the book, so I don't know what they were playing. Sometimes I wonder, because I've had some, as a writer, I've had some issues with Amazon in the past. There's issues with them. I'm not going to go into them, but
no, of course
I've had
not.
problems.
No. Indeed. Usually Amazon are pretty good, though. But I'm going to hand you back over to Andy now, because I believe he's itching. He's jumping up and down here. He's got another question for you.
Okay.
I do have a question. As you know, John, we had a conversation the other night regarding some of the music that you like to listen to. And you very kindly gave us a couple of options of which ones to play for you. Obviously, one of your choices being Some Kind of Wonderful. I think I can understand why you want that one. And I think I can understand why you want Strong Love by Spencer Davis. But you've also asked for Possible Showman, The Wrong Girl.
Yeah,
Could you tell me
The Wrong
why?
Girl, yeah. Well, that one alludes to, refers to an incident in Jimmy Mack. Without giving too much away, he's got a girlfriend, the love of his life, if you like, but he meets this other girl. And what I tend to do in these novels, every chapter has a record from the time. And that is from that chapter where he meets this other girl. And obviously the song, if you like, resonates. In other words, it reflects what's happening in the chapter.
So, without going into too much more detail, so we don't give anything away, which is your favourite chapter?
Oof. Which is my favourite chapter?
That's horrible.
Wow.
That is absolutely terrible. Honestly, John, I had no idea what he's writing there.
Tricky. Very tricky.
But a good question.
It's got a lot of different chapters, if you like, with many different things happening within the family in the first book. The one thing I will point out, and I think it's very important for you to do with this, if you do buy either of the books, be warned, there are some hot chapters.
Ooh.
lack of a better description.
Oh,
which
John,
is why on the
I
second
wouldn't have
book what I've
expected
done
that.
on the back page,
Ooh la la.
I've actually put parental advisory because it is in parts pretty steamy. I don't make any apologies for that because it actually kind of reflects the kind of things that teenagers get up to and did get up to. I mean, there's nothing new under the sun. That's one of the important things that you can relate to. This is something that, as soon as you start reading it, you'll think, well, yeah, blimey, I can understand this. That's all I'm going to say. Favourite chapters? Well, I don't know where to begin. Difficult. I wouldn't like to say it.
Okay, I'll make it a little bit easier for you then. If you were actually Jimmy Mack, which chapter of Jimmy Mack's life would you want to be in?
That's the same question, nearly.
I'm trying to be clever here.
The first book or the second book? Oh dear. Well, I don't know.
No one said it was going to be easy.
Right. I couldn't say. I really couldn't because it's so complicated, really, to actually discuss his life because some of it parallels mine. And I don't want to give too much away about that, but there are incidents in both books, which if you like, I'm a bit close to. I don't want to go into more than that. Yeah, I mean, the book is a reflection of the kind of things that can happen. I'm not saying will happen. can happen to young men and young women, and it touches on dealing with drugs. It touches on, well, more than touches on violence, because there's a very strong physical element involved in it. What can I say? He's a saint and he's a sinner. Can I put it that way? That makes him fascinating, I think, really, because he's a hero, but he's a hero that's a saint and a sinner, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
He does things that are good and he does things that are not so hot. But I'm not giving much away here, because, you have to really...
That's enough, yeah.
Understand that what happens to you in life is a series of choices. You make a choice, and there are consequences from that choice. And I think we all understand that. There are things we can look back on and say, look, this happened to me, and I didn't know that the result of it was going to be this. And I think this is what all the novels are about, making choices, and sometimes the choices you make aren't good ones.
Uh-huh.
And the choices that you make that aren't good ones lead you into more trouble. And I think that really is the whole point of the book, that you are what you choose to do, and what you choose to do writes your story, if you like. Does that seem clear enough?
It does. It answers the question in a roundabout way. So, no, thank you very much there, John. And obviously, before I pass you back to Sean, I just want to thank you for joining us this evening, taking the time out to speak with us this evening. And obviously, Nikki sends her love, as do Curly and Kendra. And we look forward to seeing you again soon, mate.
Yeah, I hope so. It's been a while now, and I'd like to meet up again.
Absolutely look forward to it, sir. Thank you.
Oh, that's really nice. Okay, now I'm just going back over. I've just flicked through your book, actually, and I love the way you've put in on the different chapters that you've put in a different record and everything. But what is really, really quite unique with that, you've not just put the record in, you've actually put in the catalogue number as well.
Yeah.
Now, I have to do that part of my job when I'm doing like audits and things like that. So when I'm playing the music, I only do it 1 week out of the whole year. That every song that I play, I have to catalogue number it, and I've just checked on a couple of yours, and they're all completely right. Wasn't checking up on you. I was just checking to make sure that my records were completely right. So, do you know what website you used when you were looking up your record labels and your catalogue numbers?
I generally tend to know which labels I'm looking for anyway.
Yeah.
And if I can't remember the numbers, obviously, then I have to look them up. And I either use 45 Cat or Discogs, which are the sort of Bibles for finding things.
45 Cat is the one I've used, and I came out of university as a mature student, and they actually said to me that is one of the best ones in the whole entire world is 45 Cat. Discogs can a little bit, a bit like Wikipedia can be sort of, should we say, enhanced by others. But 45 Cat is perfect.
It's sometimes you don't find things on Discogs at all, and I know they exist. I do actually know that they were released.
Yeah.
And then I have to go to 45 Cat to just check the catalogue numbers.
And sometimes, that's the best way of doing it as well. You're double checking yourself. But that is a lot of work as well, because I know how long that takes me just to, throw sort of 10, 15 songs together in 1 hour, just the catalogue number and them all. And you're doing it on every chapter. It's absolutely brilliant. And different as well, unique.
What I did, I don't know if you've noticed this, they're all UK releases.
Yes, they are.
But what you will find when you read the book, the records that you see listed for each chapter would occur in that year and that year only.
Oh, well, that's just been too clever now, isn't it?
Well,
I
it
didn't
is.
notice
It's
that.
what I do, the thing is, you've got to remember, by training or by profession, I'm a historian, so I tend to get things like that right. I mean, it kind of helps,
That's it.
isn't it?
Now, if people just buy your book just to double check all your findings, that is a great way of selling books. Despite the book itself, they're just going to check all your chapters and make sure that you've got it spot on. So you're 101% sure now, yeah?
Where the records are concerned, yes, but I have made one slip up. It's not in the digital edition of Jimmy Mack, but it is fairly early on, and that was because I wasn't careful enough over a detail. And I'm not going to tell you what it is.
No.
But the first person to get back to me can get themselves a little prize.
Oh, right, okay. So,
if they
talking
can find
about
out
that...
what it is, I know what it is.
Brilliant.
I
Now,
should have changed it, but I didn't do it.
No, it makes it a little different, doesn't it, as well? So how do we get hold of you? Obviously, we do find a mistake. If any of our listeners out there now find that mistake early on, there's your little clue. How do they get to you to obviously claim their little prize?
Well, the quickest way is to probably get to me on Facebook, because most people are on Facebook, I think. So that would be the best way, or you can get to me through Twitter as well, because I'm on at Twitter as @JKnight _author, or you can get to me on Facebook as John Knight @ the @ sign, like you get on the web pages.
Yep.
Jimmy Mack space @ space. Sorry, John Knight space @ space Jimmy Mack.
I know it's all confusing to me as well. Trust me. I used to have the stamped addressed envelopes. You used to lick it down and then put your question on one side and the stamp and their address on the other. That's how easy it was back then. But now we've got emails and whatever, and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. I still haven't worked out Instagram yet. Do you understand Instagram?
Yes, I tend to put photos or some of the adverts up on Instagram. Really.
Fantastic.
To try and reach people, because obviously I don't have a publicity machine, so I have to try and let people know that the book's there.
Brilliant. Well, hopefully after tonight...
kills people at times, but
absolutely.
It's the only way to do it.
Indeed. Well, hopefully after tonight, and obviously once I get this up on Mixcloud as well, there we go, I'm going to show off now. Once it goes onto Mixcloud as well, which is another online sort of sharing platform for audio, we'll have a few more hits and a few more books sold as well. That's what we're all aiming to try and do, to help you guys out there in the author land, as well as obviously music as well.
Yes, true, yeah. Can I ask a favour while I'm online?
Oh, go on then, why not?
If anyone should buy the book and should read it and they like it, and if you bought it on somewhere like Amazon, would you please leave a review? It only has to be a sentence long.
Yes.
You don't have to write pages. But any review is better than no review, and at least people get a chance to see.
Yes, of course.
That that your book's being read. But also, the way Amazon works, for example, the more reviews you get, the higher up their list of interest you become.
Yes, of course.
So you're not dawdling around the 100,000 mark in the books. So
indeed. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we'll put something up on our Facebook pages in a short while about that as well, just to leave a nice little review. I think it's only polite and proper to do so anyway, once they've received the book and started to read it. If they're enjoying it, hey, share it. Why not?
Thank you, yeah.
No problems at all. So what are you doing for Christmas this year, John?
I'm taking my wife up to see her mum.
Excellent.
And we're spending the day with her, and the evening before we're spending with her sister-in-law.
Okay.
And it's going to be very low-key, because all our kids are abroad in Australia. So
yeah.
We don't have anybody else left.
Oh, well, you've got all of us here on Facebook. If you ever get bored, you can always come up onto Facebook. I'm sure there'll be some people on Facebook on Christmas Day showing everyone what they've got for Christmas and their Christmas dinners and things. Everyone seems to sort of take pictures of their Christmas dinners and stuff. They did last year, and I thought, my goodness me, where are you going to put all of that? And they do. They just finish their plate. It just looks huge. But are you a roast turkey man, or do you go for something different, or...?
I eat whatever's in front of me. Really.
Well, you're from Yorkshire originally, so you're not fussy. You're not fussy.
Not eat a lot. I have to keep my slim figure, so not put on weight.
No, indeed.
Watch what I eat. So
excellent.
Yeah,
that's
I'm going to keep a 38 waist. I've got to keep within the bounds.
Oh, well, you're allowed to splurge once in a blue moon. I'm sure Christmas Day can be, your splurge day.
Well, yeah.
And have you written to Santa yet? That's the main question. Have you written to Santa and asked him for whatever you want?
No, actually, when you get to my age, I'm pushing 70 shortly. There's nothing I want.
Well,
the only things I want are just things like books. I suppose I've just got my Christmas present today, which is a copy of Paul Smiler Anderson's Pocket Guide to Mod. But I suppose that's my Christmas present to myself.
Aww.
I don't doubt my wife might buy me a little bit of something, but to be honest, no, I don't have any great desires. I tend not to sort of go mad at Christmas at all. I let my good lady do all the Christmas shopping for all.
Do you know something? I think every man is very similar. I'm going to ask Andy that question as well, but I actually get my Rachel, my wife. I'm terrible. I'm just absolutely. I look at the shops and I think to myself, what do I get? I've got no idea. So I hand it over to the inspirational wife. Do you do the same, Andy?
Nikki certainly does the shopping. Nikki knows what she wants to eat, but then I cook it.
Okay, now we're talking about presents more than anything else.
Oh, I'm sorry.
he's in another world.
I was. Sorry,
yeah, that's okay.
I was looking down at something else there. Yes, Nikki, certainly. She's the organiser. She knows exactly what everybody wants. And she's very clever because she makes notes throughout the year, so she knows exactly what to get and why they want it.
Absolutely. So I think a round of applause for all our wives out there. I think that's the good.
Yes, I agree with that one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, John, thanks ever so much for jumping on this evening and taking half an hour of your time out. So I know you're a busy man, and also you need some downtime as well, because obviously these author people, Andy, they love their words.
They do,
but they don't want to use them all up.
No.
Indeed. So we're going to leave him with the rest of his words for his evening out with his good lady wife. And, John, thanks ever so much indeed. And anything we can do to help you, obviously, we will do that for you. But have a great Christmas, my friend, and we'll see you in the new year.
Yes, thank you very much for having me.
No problems at all. And just for a little surprise, we're going to play all of your tracks. Okay, now we're going to start off with the showman, The Wrong Girl. So keep it tuned here at Target Radio. And once again, have a great Christmas and a great New Year. Buy his book, everyone. John Knight at Jimmy Mack on Facebook. He's on Twitter. Get onto Amazon right now, because I tell you what, they are under a tenner. That's all I'm going to say. They're all under a tenner. Go on. Treat yourself to a book. If you don't get it before Christmas, a great New Year's Eve present. What do you think, John?
Yes, I think I've had some excellent sort of feedback from those who've read the books.
Yeah.
And they've really made my day. They made it feel as if it's worthwhile continuing.
Brilliant.
I'm not the best-selling author. There's not that many people who've read the book out there, but those who have loved it, and that for me is the most important thing.
Fantastic.
Can I just finish by saying that?
Of course.
The ones who do read it, I think I make real friends for life out of them, because I think they really take the characters in the book.
Oh, that's really nice to say as well. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I think that is. I think that we should have left it there, and that is the best thing to say, I think, don't you?
Indeed. Thank you very much for your time there, John.
Thanks, John. And as I said before, have a great Christmas, and indeed have a prosperous New Year with your books.
Yeah, thank you very much.
No problems at all.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.
Speak to you later, mate. Take care.
See you then. Thanks, John.
Bye.
Bye now.
Cheers. Bye-bye, fella.
There he is. That was John Knight. Great. What a great interview.